Hello, welcome to another night of the show. This is the Whole Pet Academy show, and tonight we have Dara Forleo and we have Dave Campanella, and I'm Christy Newmeyer Smith, and I'm always here. So, but let's jump in and start talking to Dave. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing pretty good. Got back from Pasadena. That was a good experience. Did a couple seminars. And this year at the trade shows, I'm doing a little work with Jay Scruggs and Sue Zecco. That's a shameless plug for those guys. But they're helping us out at the shows and with some things as well. So Best Shot, we're doing all sorts of different things. And we kicked it off in Pasadena.
Woohoo!
Yay.
Awesome.
How
Love
was the
Jay
weather?
Scruggs and Suzeko.
They're pretty good. We've known them a long time, and it's a good fit because and they've known me long enough, so I'm sure they went in with eyes wide open with me anyway. So
So Pasadena was 2 weeks ago.
it was a week ago, not this Sunday, but the prior Sunday. So 2 weeks ago, I guess, almost.
Yep. How was it?
I thought it was very well attended. Overall, it was pretty good. I look for different things, and and I'll share some of my, or I'll reserve from sharing some of my thoughts because I don't want to send anybody the wrong signal. But they were up in attendance. People were asking questions. What's important to me is the number of people in seminars, which I thought was very strong. California is a rough gig out there. Those you could be making a good living out east where you guys are, and then go to California and you're suddenly living in poverty. I don't know how they do it. God bless them all. But a lot of people came by the booth, a lot of questions. We wrote up a lot of trial kits and new offers, and I referred a lot of stuff to my distributors. So overall, it was good. I just I got the sense that some of the big purchasing was off, because people weren't lined up like they normally are. There was a lot of people there. Don't get me wrong, it was up, but usually you see aisles and aisles of people backed up. And perhaps that's because the technology is getting better and they can ring people up faster. I don't know. But overall, it was a good deal, and went out to dinner with the folks from Evolution Shears and Randy at Precision, Christopher Anthony. Uh, uh, um, I forget Dinwiddie's first name.
Mindy.
Minnie. Okay.
Mindy.
Mindy. I'm just bad. We talked, and she would probably hit me for not remembering, but I'm just.
No, she won't.
But it was a good time, and
You remembered her last name. I mean, what a rare
Yeah.
thing.
I would prefer to just say, "Hey, Dinwiddie," but that sounds, that probably would go over. That's a fun name to say.
It is a fun name to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody calls me Campanella. That sounds like something serious. Like, oh God, what did we do?
Well, every time someone gives an example of like Mrs. Smith, I'm like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, I just got done. What is it? Binging Lost in Space.
Oh, yes.
Good, yeah. Anyway,
That's a good show.
yes.
So part of what we're doing when we're interviewing people is just kind of get to know people a little bit more. And I would like to know how long you've been playing guitar. I'm looking at those guitars behind you.
I
Tell us
know.
more about that.
This is my man cave in the house, so it's got the guitars on the wall. But I started playing guitar when I was 8, and I did everything by ear, and that was back in the days of record players. And what us old timers used to do is we'd get a 33 RPM, LP, Pink Floyd, Van Halen, whatever, and you'd put it on 78 speed if you had one of those, and you could slow the record down, and you tune the guitar down, and you would learn all the music that way. But now we have YouTube, so you don't even have to read music; you just have to watch, and you can learn just by that. But I put it away for about 20 years. And because it was always a distraction. And now I'm just too old to give a rat's ass, and I'm having fun with it. And
You should bring it to Idaho and play at the social hour.
unfortunately, I don't think I could. I could maybe bring one of them, but I wouldn't trust bringing some of them. They're not like super wonderful like collectibles or anything, but they're I wouldn't feel safe bringing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, maybe I'll find somebody with one and I'll steal the guitar and play it. But anyway,
There you go.
All right. No
and I
doubt.
don't. The only problem is I don't sing. I do sing, but I can't sing, and I have a very limited range. And when I was young, I used to play a lot of hair band music and things like that, and
I was going to ask you what you like to play.
I was going to say, that's kind of our time. So,
yeah, I like the hair bands and the old classic rock, but now I just kind of pick it up and been teaching myself finger picking and rockabilly and anything that I can play with just an acoustic and putz around. And
Love rockabilly.
Yeah, just dabbling around with what they call chord comping and playing. I'm not a musician. I'm just a tinkerer, and I'm having fun, and I can entertain myself for hours, and I'm getting a little better. When I was younger and I played in bands, I would know all my parts, but when you know rock and roll music, it's like, okay, here you go. Okay, wait. Okay, and then there's this part, and people can't listen and enjoy that. They have to listen to the whole band. So now I'm teaching myself to play things that would entertain people. So I'm learning how to play again. So
every once in a while, you put it down and then pick it back up again.
Right.
Right.
Yes, and
I
Tiffany
play a bunch of instruments too, and you just if you don't have anybody you're playing with, you just kind of get bored for a while.
Yeah. My problem is like, for example, a lot of people are gamers today.
Mhm.
I can't play a video game because I'll get addicted. That's my crack cocaine, is a video game. And the same thing would happen to me with music, because I used to be out on the road and, in different jobs, and I would bring my guitar with me. And, and I'd be up all night, and then I'd sleep in, and I'd be late for appointments. This is in the early years. And it was more of a distraction. I made a ton of money so I could buy all sorts of gear and have some fun. But, it led to me putting it away. And now I'm slowly building up my collection, and it's kind of an illness now. My wife buys antique trinkets. I buy guitars. So.
I have a pretty wide selection of musical instruments. My husband's like, "Why don't you play one of your instruments?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I haven't done that in a while."
Yeah, it's a covet thing, I think. I don't know.
They're pretty.
They are pretty. I was happy. The one in the middle behind me, that's a Gibson Les Paul, and I used to have one 35 years ago, and I sold it, and I saw that the one that I bought for $740 back when I was a little kid, I paid half, and my dad pitched in the other half. That was paper route money. That guitar is going for $6,800 to $7,200 now.
Wow.
And of course, the one I bought used, and I was very happy. I only spent twice as much on that, So I'm thinking over 35 years, I think I did pretty good.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yep.
Well, we have one of your customers in the chat who says hello, and that best shot is her favorite. That's Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany. Okay, cool. Is that Tiffany from Washington or Oregon?
I don't know. She'll probably throw it back out in there. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Virginia.
Virginia.
Oh, okay.
No comparison.
Cool. Well, hello. Now I know that that there's a Tiffany in Virginia. So welcome.
Yep. I don't know. We love Best Shot too in Portsmouth. So.
Yep. I use a lot of Best Shot.
Thank you.
Yep. Absolutely.
It works so well with our water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It really does. It is. I don't know. I've tried so many other shampoos and products, and by far, Best Shot has been the best.
Thank you. Thank you. We spend a lot of time mindfully. There's a method to it. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a marketing guy that knows too much. But we when we were going through COVID and with all the supply chain issues, we fought like hell to make sure we never ran out of ingredients, and we ship a few products with weird looking packaging from time to time because that was crazy. But we've been blessed that we've been able to, after years of doing this, we've been able to leverage and keep making the stuff the way we've always made it. So we haven't had any real problems. I do know that this is just FYI stuff that we deal with. Business has grown. We're really doing good. COVID was good for us. There were a lot of small companies that just couldn't get things done, and we managed to. And as a result, our volumes are up, and we're starting to notice that like some of the fragrance companies and some of the other companies are taking a little longer to get us stuff. And a lot of our distributors love us because we're known. We kind of spoil our distributors because traditionally they put in an order and within a few days it's out and on its way. And lately, I think for at least for the next month, we're probably going to be running a couple weeks, like everybody else, for the first time in 30 years. It's going to take a couple weeks until we get caught up with some of the supply chain. We can get it. It just everybody's moving slow. So we'll see what the economy and all this crazy stuff does. But so far, we've been managing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Are you still having supply chain issues and stuff? I know some businesses are still, and I mean, with so many things like packaging and
Packaging is finally settled down. There's certain things that are a challenge, and then certain things you have to get through China, which is like caps and closures and things like that. And then sometimes I think they change the specs on things without telling you. I'm not trying to give the Chinese a bad name. The Chinese people are lovely. It's their government, is the issue. So I'm not bashing. It's a woke world today, so I don't think woke applies to government regimes. But at any rate, but the people are lovely. But we've been noticing some things have been coming out of spec in packaging. But some of our advanced silicones and things like that, we were really worried early on a couple of years ago. But since we've been buying them for so long and we've been around for 30 some years, doing a lot of leveraging. When we place an order, we put out forecast orders out anywhere from 18 to 20 months. I mean, that's how far we have to secure them. So we know that it's going to come in. So it's just a whole different kind of buying. And in order to do that, you got to have the resources. And it's not hard to imagine that some of the family-owned companies, it's a little tough for them, I think, sometimes. I'm not bashing, but sometimes it might be tighter. It might be more of a hand-to-mouth type of thing with the smaller companies, and we're not in that situation. However, I'm noticing certain things are kind of catching up, and while we weathered the storm in a lot of ways, I'm seeing delays, and I'm seeing certain companies struggling a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But so in answer to your question, no, we haven't really seen anything yet. It's been a lot of work to keep up, but anything can happen,
Sure.
If that made sense.
Yeah, it made sense. No, because I know there's always like one little teeny tiny piece that sometimes you're waiting on, and it halts production in lots of ways. So I'm glad you guys haven't been too terribly affected by it.
No. Our biggest problem as of late was Ultra Wash. Smells like peppermint. And we were delayed about a week getting the peppermint in. So that just kind of sucks, but
Okay.
but the good news was we were delayed a week. So that wasn't an issue. And then, of course, you have to jump through and figure out how do we make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So that's where it's exhausting. Things are always changing, and we're always looking for backup providers, of certain things, but that's easier said than done. We're fortunate that a lot of our suppliers we've been dealing with a long time. That works on some things, it's not so well on others.
So Mindy's in the chat. I don't think she got here early enough to know that you rememred her last name and not her first name.
I was joking on your name, Mindy.
That never happens.
I do it with my daughters, Fran and Megan. I'll call Fran Megan, and I'll call Megan Fregan.
And Tiffany says that she really appreciates you keeping the product out there. Lemonade is my favorite, and my teen daughter snuck off with the Apple Lily Sentiment Spa shampoo, conditioner, and body splash. Wow.
Was that for her or for a dog?
Hey, you know what? Sometimes something smells good, and I don't care if I use it in my hair if it smells nice.
I was going to say that sometimes
for her,
if I have a choice, I'll bring the Harvest apple home and I'll use that at home. But that kind of paints a bad picture too. It's like, but my beard smells like apple sometimes.
I think I would choose the lavender. So.
Agree.
Oh, but our friends comment on how nice her hair looks and smells.
Yes.
So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Here's a tip on the lemonade. It because of the jojoba oil in it and some of the conditioners, we used to bottle that about 10 years ago for somebody who sold and traded Corvettes. And it's a rinse. If you use it to wash your car, it's a rinseless wash. It won't leave streaks. So if you ever want to wash your car, use lemonade.
Huh. There are cheaper ways to wash a car.
I know, but we're talking a nice
car wash.
I'm going to pimp out my 2006 Scion.
we spoil and indulge our pets. The people who have nice cars, I do not. They appreciate it. So whatever.
Yep. My Scion's not going to get the expensive shampoo. So, Dave.
Go ahead. Yes.
No, go ahead. You were going to say something?
And nothing important. I would have just gone down another slippery slope. So let's stay on target.
I'm trying to think, and you've been on a few times. Have you ever told us how you got into products?
How I got into this?
And with Best Shot?
Bits and pieces, but I can give you that. 34 years ago, I met a beautiful pet groomer, my wife, and actually she didn't know she was a groomer then. She worked for a chain of pet stores and managed all the animal husbandry, and she groomed all the puppies. And we met, and she became a vet tech and started doing grooming at home, and in the process, that was back in the Stasco years in the I want to say the early 80s, early 90s, mid 80s, early 90s. But yeah. That whole history. And she knew the founder of Best Shot. She would groom Bill Marshall's dogs. And and I would go and pick it up. It was a local operation about maybe 5 miles from my house in Ohio. And when Mike bought the company, I got introduced to him, and I started doing a little consulting with him. My background was, have you guys ever heard of Royal Appliance or Dirt Devil vacuums?
Yeah.
Back in the day when Mr. Coffee and Maytag and Hoover and all those were American-made companies, not just brands made overseas somewheres. I worked for them out of college, and I had a good 13-year stint with them, setting up territories, working with service centers. Our job was, if you're going to sell millions of these things to Kmart, you need somebody to fix them. So we had a custom line, and we really catered to building a good service network, a dealer network. And I got my chops in selling, and I learned the hard way that selling isn't selling. Selling is just helping people, and if you can just be sincere and genuine and help people, That's how you become successful in sales. There's no magic phrase or any word. But while I was doing that, Tracy had her business, and I would work evenings and weekends and holidays, and I made all the equipment, and serviced all the equipment, and handled the marketing, and basically the company went through changes and downsized, and I ended up leaving there with the golden parachute, which doesn't happen much. That simply means they were making changes, and since I was there for however, they were very generous. I left with 6 months full severance and
Wow.
a outplacement. I had some place to go to other than a bar while I was out of work, so that was nice. And then I got into I wanted to get into advertising, so I started working for Advo Systems, which is kind of if it's junk mail essentially, what you get in your mailbox. But they used to do a lot of custom printing and targeted, uh, you know, targeted marketing. Before there was social media and all the different things you could do, there was carrier routes. Your mailman worked a specific carrier route, and every one of those carrier routes back then was in a database and with all the demographics, and you could pretty much custom tailor marketing based on the demographics of mail routes. So that was kind of like the primitive version of what we're doing now with digital media. Now they look at your devices and they know when you buy and where you go and all the sites, good and bad, that you're on, and on the sites you're not supposed to be on, and things like that. But that's how I got into advertising, and then from there, I went through a change and started working for a newspaper, managing some things, and I was getting real tired working for big companies, and I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. And I started consulting for Best Shot, and I started going to some shows with them because I was making tubs and dryers. I knew a guy who did stainless steel CNC computer cutting work, and I was making tubs, dryers, bathing systems for about 2 years, and they were really good. The only problem was stainless steel back then was getting bought up, and prices were going through the roof. And my CNC guy went through a divorce, so that quickly killed my little thing. So I went to work for Best Shot part time, and then after about a year and a half of dabbling with him, he was going to be moving the company down to Kentucky, and I said, if I give myself a year, I think I can make this work. So I had a 1-year plan, and Tracy sold her shop, moved down with me to Kentucky, brought my youngest daughter with me. My oldest daughter was in college. She stayed in Ohio. And it took me 2 years, to make it work, but I hung in there, and the rest is history. I've been there for pushing 20 years, my affiliation. I hope that makes sense, but Tracy, I owe my job to my wife. She got me the job. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't know anything I wouldn't have been introduced to the grooming industry or breeding dogs or Kerry Blue Terriers or Samoyeds or Lowland Polish sheepdogs. And then I will add that I have 2 daughters, but today I have in our house, we have 9 dogs, a cat, and some fish. And 3 of those 9 are puppies, Kerry Blue puppies. They're the pick of the litter. We're trying to get them placed. And I should have had 6 boys, and I could have afforded all of the sports injuries compared to having all the dogs we've had over the years, and showing and whatnot. But you know what? It's wonderful, and it's who I am. As far as being affiliated with it, but my wife is the groomer and the breeder, and I support her fully. I guess if I stop and think, she probably would do those things if I didn't support her. But
probably. But
Yep.
we like to let husbands think that support is necessary.
Yeah, yeah. I fulfill my role. I drive the trailer to the shows and all the other things. But it's fun, and the situation where I'm at now is Best Shot's been going through some really good success, and I'm going to a lot of shows. I think I have 14 shows I'm doing this year
Wow,
for Best Shot. Yeah,
great.
yeah. Just I added Teton.
Hmm.
And I added Fun in the Sun because of that change. So more shows, and that unfortunately conflicts with a lot of dog shows. So it makes it a challenge. But we're fortunately after 30 some years, my wife's comfortable with it. I told her, next week is Atlanta groomed. The following week we do the Louisville Dog Show, and I fly out to Tacoma, the Northwest Grooming Show. I get back from that, and I go to I'm home for half a day, and I go to Orlando for Global Pet Expo, and then the following week is Intergroom. So that's my busiest stretch right there. And Tracy told me, see it. So
So, do you rep Best Shot at the Louisville Dog Show?
yeah,
Or are you in
I'm not there, but we have employees, and people that set up there.
Oh,
So
okay, you don't go to that show.
I would from time to time. I'd rather not. Usually when I'm there, Tracy's there showing, so I help her out. But fortunately, we've got some people that can
Yeah.
run the dog
That's
show.
a huge show.
That's a huge show, and selling at a dog show is a lot different from a grooming show.
Yeah.
And if I had my choice, I'd be at a grooming show because dog shows, can be really, I really don't like doing dog shows. I like being at dog shows. I don't like doing at dog shows.
They probably don't. Do they buy in bulk like we do at shops?
It's a mix. You get a lot of groomers that there's crossover groomers, veterinarians, people who do,
Show and yeah.
they go and they buy up and they stock up. And then you get, it's a cosmopolitan crowd. It's a lot of work, and there are long days because, you're in there at least by 8 o'clock, and you stay till after Best in Show, which can go to 6:30.
Yeah.
And you're at a dog show, and everybody tells you about their dogs and how wonderful they are. And that's wonderful. And you see a lot of dogs, and I guess I'm sharing too much. It kind of gets old after 18 years of doing that. So I'd much rather be at a grooming show because that never gets boring for me. I enjoy that, and I enjoy doing the seminars. I enjoy getting the questions, and it's weird. It's like it's not even a job. It's like the best. I get to go out, and I don't even want to say it feels like a part-time job. It doesn't feel like work. It's fun to just be out there and the grooming element.
And if anybody hasn't sat down and asked Dave a question at some point, you won't know that he just passion talks and will answer any questions you've ever had in your entire life. Which is how I met Dave. Was at the New England show. I had a question, and it was one of my customers actually had a question, and I was asking the question for her, and boy, we talked for hours.
Yeah, well, you were lucky. It was probably on a slower day, and you caught me with probably 90 minutes left of the show, and I was like, okay.
Yep. It was a slower day, and it was the New England show. New England show is kind of a slow paced anyway,
Yeah. That's a good show for us. We're going to it again this year. It's going to be in Springfield. It'll be in Springfield, Massachusetts this time around. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the big thing, a little bit about Best Shot, the first thing I tell people that blows their minds is I tell them there's a lot of good products out there, and there's a lot of good companies and good people. And I'm not offended if somebody doesn't want to buy our product. Have you ever walked into a sales booth and it's like they're not letting you go without you buying something? And see, I don't operate that way. My approach at a show like that, especially with the trade and with the professionals, is what are you looking for? What are your challenges? How can I help?
Mhm.
And that's the way we try to go. And then in our marketing, we're more focused on performance results than we are trends and buzzwords. And we've got our share of, I'm a marketing guy. What can I say? There's a few buzzwords that we use and we play with, but the approach that we try to take is more of a transparent honesty approach. I always get people who come in and say, are your products all natural? And anybody who knows me and knows the Dave Twitch, I'm not a good poker player. I can't hold my feelings in, and I have to compensate. And the way I compensate for that is, okay, one of two things. In the old days, they would say, do you have something that's all natural? And in the old days, everybody's stuff was all natural. Mind you, it's the same product it is today, but the standards were, everybody convinced themselves that if it's from this earth, what could be more natural than the earth, right? And people would say, oh yeah, it's all natural, or it's mostly natural. Well, shampoos are mostly water, so that doesn't count. And we use a lot of silicones, and back in the day, it was almost like you were almost embarrassed to say it because you didn't know, because we were all new to the industry. We didn't know how people reacted. So the approach we would take, as with so many other companies, was ancient Chinese secret kind of approach. That's a reference to an old commercial. They go and did a laundromat. How do you make my clothes so soft? Ancient Chinese secret, and they're using some Woolite or some over-the-counter product. But over the years, we've just learned to embrace the science, and there's a lot of people that insist they want to have something that's so natural and mostly natural and all natural, which really is hard to do. I'll save that discussion for a seminar. But I tell people, our scoop, this is what we're all about. If you go to our website, especially if you check out our website in about 30 days, we're changing the format and making it a little cleaner, a little easier to follow. But if you go there, we tell you where we stand on ingredients. And on every page of our website, under the item description, we list the ingredients, and we voluntarily put our ingredients on our safety data sheets, which we don't have to do. I do it because I'm being a stinker to all those all natural companies who don't list their ingredients. That's my way of kind of sticking it to them, because they wouldn't dare do that, because the real thing is most products aren't as natural as they say. Everybody's gets sloppy and they portray things the wrong way. And synthetic ingredients, what I teach, it's not a bad thing. Look around us. Everything around us is synthetic. The only problem with synthetic is you've heard me say, is the first syllable is the word sin. And for a marketer, you can create an illusion. And everybody wants to follow the dog food industry because food drives the pet industry. And there's been a big push for more natural, wholesome ingredients. And that's wonderful. That's a very noble cause. But the chemistry in shampoo, you have a choice. You can buy soap, liquid soap, saponified oil. A product that comes to mind is a company called For a Legger, which it's a fine soap product. Lovely people, but unfortunately, a lot of these companies, they don't realize that they sell their products with fear. And they totally dismiss the whole natural aspect of what they're offering. Now, if you ask me, and most people who know, soap has a lot of limitations. That's why we have synthetic detergents. But it's interesting that most of the misinformation and malignantly false information, or whatever, however you want to put it, comes from the companies that portray themselves as natural, because you can't do that with the shampoo. You can do it with food, but the chemistry is totally different. Mm-hmm. I've gone back and forth. Sometimes I'll put a picture of a flower because I can't put the picture of the scent. It's powerful, but I just can't do it because that's misleading. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
they look at that. If you see an orange with a little juice dripping down it, I mean, it makes you salivate. You react to it. The fragrances that we're using, while they're mostly naturally derived, it's not orange juice. Okay, in that fragrance, it's a chemical, and that's the kind of stuff that we deal with. And unfortunately, we're wired to believe the first thing that we're told. And when I was in Pasadena, about 20 minutes into the one of my seminars, we were talking about this, and I was encouraging them, you know, you need to know, ask for ingredients, this is what we do, and don't ask your distributors, call your manufacturers. And I was talking about how we're programmed as human beings to believe the first thing that we're told. And everybody's like, yeah. And I turned and paused to everybody and I said, I've been lying to you for the last 20 minutes. And of course, I was joking, and they all laughed. And then I had to dig myself out of that one. But the point of it is we've all seen those comedy shows where the man on the street during political season is wearing a suit and tie, and he says, "I'm your representative for whatever district," and he makes it up, and the person's like shaking their head. And, will you vote for me? Can I count on you? And they say, yeah. And 10 minutes later, he comes back and says, I'm just an intern for Letterman or whoever. But that's how we're wired. And that's how a lot of advertising, unfortunately, is today. And we really have to be careful. And I'm going on, aren't I? But
I think that we tend to hear something from a reputable source and lock it into our brains as fact.
or
But
it
a lot
sounds
of things
logical.
are ever changing. So when you update your information, sometimes I think it's hard to say, when did I learn that? How long ago was that? Is that now outdated? Because I mean, stuff I learned in the 90s isn't really up to date anymore, but I might have it in my head that this wise sage told me this thing, and that therefore it must be
I
true.
can show you advertising from the 90s, and it says that we're all natural. I can show you a bunch of Procter and Gamble stuff.
Well, I remember in the 90s when it was like, don't use silicones, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Silicones are
and they
bad.
still they
Yeah.
still do that, with
Yep.
silicones, parabens, sulfates, and it's just like, and they do it in 30 seconds. This is the human companies.
Mhm.
Who is it? Drew Barrymore. She's such a cutie, and she's jumping around for Garnier with a stuffed bunny rabbit, and she's wearing a little bee outfit because it's a honey. They're competing against Burt's Bees. I picked up on that right away. But she's doing her little thing, and she's got her stuffed rabbit because they're sponsored by a cruelty-free thing, and they got the jumping bunny thing. And she says paraben-free, no sulfates and no silicones. What does that imply? They don't explain it, and then you have to, in our trade, you have to go to seminars and find credible information so you learn why that is, so you can be the judge, make a good informed decision on what to do. But the funny thing about these companies in the human industry, they all put their ingredients on the packaging because they're mandated, and you read it and there's nothing natural, basically. Well, maybe a few things, but it's mostly chemicals. But now you got the loophole. There's nobody's policing the fact that they'll do an advertisement and you see water and you see oranges and you see things that just look so good enough to, I mean, it's genius. It's work of art, the advertising they do. But then you take the bottle and you go, huh? And in our industry, our products are considered agricultural with no regard for the person who's up to their elbows in a tub using it.
Mhm.
And you can use descriptive terms, much like soap. In the human industry, soap does not have to use inky. There's a loophole that they can use descriptive terms, which is why you go online and you see companies like Dr. Squatch's soap, and he does this ad, and he's doing stuff, and I'm listening to the ad, and it's actually misleading and lies, because he says our product isn't made with chemicals, and he throws chemicals on a guy, and I'm like, soap is a chemical. It can be made naturally. You can do it with a little potash, and lard and whatnot. There's things you can do to, when you think of the Wild West, the cooks used to get a little bit of lard and whatnot, and they'd mix it up with a little potash, and they could make soap, and they could clean their pot with that. I mean, it's natural.
Yep.
Okay, but it's a chemical. It's a chemical reaction, and soap is a detergent.
And it's not gentle.
It's not
I think sometimes people think natural ingredients because that would be more gentle. But if that were the case, why would anyone spend this much time coming up with chemical ingredients?
Well, yeah, now there's this big push for sustainability, and everybody wants to save the planet. And you've heard me say this before. Who doesn't want to save the planet? Okay. The problem that we're seeing is, and I'm seeing it, I bought some trade show shirts with a logo on it. And when I was looking, they were selling some, they called a Nico line shirt. It's made with only products that are sustainable and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, well, what's wrong with the cotton blend shirt I'm wearing? It's a play on words. And then what I found that was interesting is that product costs 35% more than everything else. And I'm like, am I really saving anything? Are they really trying to save the planet, or is it just a hook to sell more stuff and to differentiate? And I got news for you. And you probably heard me say this once before, but yeah, it's terrible that we're dumping stuff in the oceans and we're killing fish and whatnot and pollution. That's bad. We got to change it. But I got news for you. The planet's still going to be there. They talk like the planet is dying and it's not going to be there. No, we're the ones that are dying. We need to do this because if we want to continue to be around, if we want to continue to eat, if we want to continue to see nature and animals, we take care of those things. But the planet's still going to be here up until the point it gets sucked into the sun and will long be gone, right?
Yeah.
This is all this marketing stuff, and it's all fear. It's all fear-based.
Yeah.
Well, and the things that once the general public knows that there's something we can do to change something, I think that we pull through. Does anybody remember acid rain? Where did that go?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because that was going to destroy everything, but then people became aware of it, I think that's the same with recycling or making good choices with the things that you buy, just that it also means that we're very easily misled as a society as to, well, is this going to be better? Yes, of course. Like, why? Tell me why. I always want to know why. Why would it be better?
Trash company just gave me this wonderful 96-gallon trash can for recyclables, and they don't come every week. They come every other week. And I accidentally put it out the week of, it wasn't supposed to.
Coming.
And the truck came by, picked it up, and put it in with everything else.
Whoops.
Oops. Was that my fault, or was that the guy driving its fault for not reading it? But this is what we're up against, and I tell people to how am I doing? Am I wandering too much, or am I doing okay?
You're doing great.
You're fine. You're fine.
Good.
Do we want to tell people about your courses at Whole Pet that they could take at any time they'd like?
Oh yeah, you can. I have several classes at the Whole Pet Academy. One on drying.
Mm-hmm.
One on, which is a great one, by the way.
Thank you. Yep. And I'm going to make
HV dryer tech. Shed happens.
Shed happens.
Yep.
Safely storing and dispensing your grooming liquids.
Yeah.
That one, I think, but that's one of my favorite courses.
Seriously.
I
thought it would be boring and dry, but you need to know it. It's enlightening for people.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It really is. And when you think about what you say in that, and it changed our complete perspective in the academy. I mean, we've completely gone. How long, Christy, did it take us? We moved everything. It was like, whoa, my God, we got to do this.
Yeah.
It just made so much sense.
And
so
that's,
I don't want to give too much away, but Tiffany, yes, I will post our
I'm posting it right now.
Oh, you are? She's getting the website.
Yep.
But that's
Whole
what I
Tech Grooming Academy. We have a bunch of online classes on our global campus, but Dave has three classes there right now. I mean, I'm sure
we'll add some more. I got a lot
more.
going on this year, but my goal is to have eventually 10 really good classes,
Yeah.
And the approach that I try to take is, I take a step back and I look at different things. And a lot of what I talk about, people have heard before, but they've never heard it presented in the way that I present it, because I try to make sense out of things. And so when you walk away, it's like, so that's why I do that, or that's why I should do that. And that's why this happens when I use X product, and this happens when I use something else. And I just try to put it in a simple perspective, because what happens, and again, it's because the way we're programmed. I'm going to get in trouble probably when I meet my maker, because I got a bunch of questions for him, but I'll save that. But we're
Next week on the show, we ask God the question.
it just the way we do things. We don't know what we don't know. We know what we know. Most of what we were told is wrong. It's just a fact. And the way because we're humans, we're told to fear things. Everybody's concerned about the toxins and their products. And I got news for you. Then Dave walks into a seminar and tells everybody, in all likelihood, nobody's doing that because no one can take on that risk. Because there's a point where, forget about the FDA, the EPA, whatever. If you're making a product that's knowingly harmful and doing something bad, you're going to pay in court, and you're going to eventually, it's a felony if you're proven to knowingly do this stuff. Okay. The problem is the marketing. It's so easy to use fear. And when you when you don't have to list your ingredients, you can take liberties. If I'm in it for a quick buck, possibly, I could take advantage of that. I can romance. Everybody's like, oh, we use earth-derived ingredients. Yeah, well, as opposed to what? The moon, the Mars, or Uranus. That's my famous line. Where are they getting it from? But
well, but I think there's a reason for us to be cautious, though, because for some of us who were doing flea dips and flea shampoos long ago, that those products were not meant to be used hour after hour, day after day.
Yes. And Chrissy, thank you. I don't want to thank you for bringing that up, because I don't want to sound like I'm dismissing these things. But what I try to put in perspective is to look at the big picture, and let's look at what's really going on. And then I try to give advice on how you can get the information, or at least start with a foundation that you can build on that's solid. If you're building your business on what you heard on the internet, which some of it may have been correct, some of it, the important thing is to know that you're building on a solid foundation and to go from there, because you can't learn this overnight. You can't cram for being a dog groomer like I did in college for all my exams, because I was too busy drinking beer and having a good time. It doesn't work in the real world. Grooming is a process. It takes time. It's an experience. You're going to learn more over time. And, anyway, I think you get my point.
Well, and there are always new innovations. And I think that's always interesting. It's like, okay, so what's new? That's part of what I get from trade shows. Like, what's new out there?
There's new innovations, and then there's unfortunately, it's new narratives or trends. And sometimes, in my opinion, there's not a lot there. I'm kind of the disruptor. Some of my competitors, I'm sure, aren't crazy about.
No, you? I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, but fortunately, I try to be careful with how I say things, because I don't want to.
We know he's telling the truth because he has no poker face.
Well, and my wife will tell you, in this realm, I have to rely on certain facts and know what I'm talking about, because otherwise typically I have no idea what I'm talking about day in and day out, according to my wife, and she has a lot of credibility.
And she's
So
a smart woman.
she's a smart woman. So the fun thing, I have to say this, when I do something like this, with the streaming and the podcasts and whatnot, people who've read things that I've wrote, I'm much more concise. I love to write things, and to me, it's a challenge to, it's a work of art, and it's very clear. Or I'll make a comment. I've gotten, I've gotten my lumps on social media, but I've gotten pretty good at throwing out ideas, and you know, except for the people who think I'm unhinged. But then people come to a seminar, and they go to my seminar. I'm very well scripted. I make a lot of sense, but they walk into the booth afterwards and they ask me a question, and it's like, where is this guy going? And I've got 1,000 things going on in my head. If you can see it, Dara's crying right now.
I'm sorry. I
it's
just
not-
had a
unhinged.
picture.
Jazz.
I just think it's funny.
Interpretive jazz.
The best comparison
I've
I
had dinner
can.
with you many nights, so
Yeah.
I know.
You know how I am. And but it's kind of like I call it Robin Williams syndrome. Without he had a tragic fate. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about how when I'm asked a question and it's unscripted, there's 1,000 things going through my head at one time, and I have to like sort through it and try to make sense out of it all. I love when somebody says, Dara, I love when you say you have 90 minutes to do this presentation, and I can script it and I can give you 3 hours worth of material in 90 minutes. I can do it.
We got 9 minutes left.
Yes. But it was entertaining.
8 minutes, 3 seconds. Oh, nope, now we're at 8.
There we go.
We're not going to do
And
that.
I can fill that space.
You got another week, another hour coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I have to plan for that one a little better. We need to talk.
We can just talk about your classes at Teton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do
Teaching
that.
at the Teton
So
show.
this was about Best Shot. We really wanted to focus on Best Shot
Well, thank you.
and get, because well, I'm allowed to show favoritism.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
I do when it comes to evolution, and
Yep.
I like the loyalty to the companies, and it comes back in return. So
It does. And
the
the thing
Teton-
the thing of it is if think about selling shampoo. That's kind of boring. Ooh, doesn't it smell good? Or doesn't it do this? There's all these different things that I can lead you in, but is it going to make your job any different? And I'm looking for long-term customers. So, and I've said this before, I'll keep saying it. You feed a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach him to fish, he's set for a lifetime. All I'm trying to do with the seminars is give groomers information that they can apply to everything. And then in selling our product, if people were to ask what differentiates us from everybody else, is we try to present our products in a way, with a narrative, and especially if you talk to me for 20, 30 minutes, 4 hours at a trade show, jokingly, I'm going to give you information. So when you get home and take that sample kit, that trial kit you bought, you know what to expect, because I want you to use it. Okay. You just spent good money on it. I want you to use it, but I want you to get results. And when you get the results, you're going to be like, wow, that worked exactly the way he said it was. Mm-hmm. And it's not because I sold a line of bull. I helped you. I led you, and taught you what you can expect. And the funny thing is no one ever remembers, or no one ever associates the science, the mindfulness, the facts with the product. They just associate the brand with the result. And I know that, and here I am telling you that, I'm teaching people, but they use it, they get great results. They totally forget everything I said. They just associate the result with the brand, because that's how we're wired.
Right.
You it's been years. I don't even remember when it was, but it was at Hershey, Groom Expo, and I was on a mission to find the shampoo line. And I'd actually Isle of Dogs is one of my other favorites. I really love that line. It was a
That's
little
a very
more,
well thought out line.
yeah, and I liked I really liked that line. But
It's
I was finding when I moved to a larger facility,
Mhm.
it wasn't as, and we were doing more, it wasn't as, it wasn't fiscally sustainable
Yep.
for the amount. So it was like, all right, I got to find something. And somebody had told me to try this line, and I bought all of their products and got it back and was like, oh God, this is awful. It doesn't even work. And I tried another line, and here I am selling shampoo all over and dumping gallons of open shampoo, because who's going to buy open shampoo, and just dumping it and trying, can't even half of it. I was having a hard time. I sold a lot of it, but it's like, oh my gosh. All right. So then I get to, and you and I were talking, and we spent a lot of time that weekend together.
And you bought
Um,
a kit, didn't you?
no, I didn't. I had
Oh,
used
you went you went for gallons. That's right.
I was, but I had used you back when I was in Peterborough also.
Okay.
And so I was between you and Isle of Dogs for, God, 10 years
Mhm.
before I moved to Portsmouth.
Right.
And Isle of Dogs made the switch. And I think Katie and I have always used you, but I was just like, all right. And the clientele, and I'm thinking, people really liked the Isle of Dogs. It looks nice on a shelf. You can sell it, blah, blah, blah. It worked well in Peterborough. Wasn't price wise, all of that wasn't working in Portsmouth. So I came back to you at that Hershey show, and I had gone to every single, and because I've known you, so I had gone to every other shampoo vendor in that place and asked them how it worked. Our water is horrible in Portsmouth, absolutely terrible. Chrissy, it is just, it's so heavy, and it marks all the tubs, and you get all the nasty green and iron brown stains.
Not the worst
And
I've ever seen, but yeah, it's hard
it
water.
was, well, it's because we clean a lot, but when it wasn't
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
so I came to you and I was like, every single one of these companies were like, oh yeah, our water, perfect. You're not going to have any problem using this shampoo. I'm like, well, actually, back from another show or two ago when I bought all your products, it didn't work. It did not do anything. And I got rid of it. And you were just like, oh, your face that night, you were just like, oh my God. You're like, all right, let's go talk.
But I obviously told you the truth
You
because
did.
of
Yeah.
what I said, you know. And what I was saying is so many people get introduced to Best Shot at a show, and we do these things. It's called Pick Six for 50. And I was going to kick it up to 55 because of pricing, but Mike, the owner, says, "Nah, keep it at 50." And I'm like, "Okay." But the thing of it is I ask, "What are you looking for? What do you need? What type of do you get? Dirty dogs? Do you get this and that? You know, here's the story of Best Shot." But when you leave, you pick out 6 items that you're looking for that means something to you. Now, I'm not selling you a bill of goods. You're making your own bag, right? And that makes all the difference in the world because I know statistically, after almost 20 years of doing it, there's at least 4 items out of those 6 that you're absolutely going to fall in love with. And you'll come back and you'll buy a gallon. I also know that on certain products of ours that, you know, people like change. Something new comes out. I mean, you're going to try something new. I get it. I do it too. Okay. You'd be surprised how much competitive product we buy, just, for whatever reason. And then when we get rid of it, I take it home and I give it, and I give it to Tracy when we're done with it, and she uses it. I'm not offended.
Yeah.
But
But
the
part
thing,
of picking 6 is that then you get the questions about what they see. You know, do they have owners who want something really scented? Do they have
yep,
really greasy Cocker Spaniels? Do they have like Portsmouth, which is dogs that swim at the beach and come in with beach sand,
And
which is a
smells.
unique problem, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so people pick. There's usually 4 they settle on, and then there's some people who may try something and they may get away from us, but then they come back, especially if they've been to a seminar. And I've had people who've gone to our seminar and taken everything that I taught, and they're using some good product, and they're getting better results with their brands. I'm perfectly okay with that, because at the end of the day, they still come by the booth and they thank me for what I shared with them. And that's a plus for our company, because they remember that, you know, that's how you do it. That there's no get rich quick scheme. The only one of those that I saw come along in our industry was the guy who started making the Furminator, and then he paid some money and got investors, and the Furminator was sold twice, and he made money twice on that deal, and he made millions. He made tens of millions. Okay. I'm not going to be that guy. I'd love to be that guy. I would, we'd be on a jet, having a good time. We wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't, but that ain't going to happen. The way you grow a business is you do the right thing every time. You do it the hard way, which is the right way. Day to day, it's like being a preacher. The only way you build a congregation is one soul at a time, and that's the only way you can grow a shampoo company. It's true. Otherwise, it's too easy for somebody to buy it and be disappointed. So now we're 5 minutes over, aren't we?
Nope.
No,
Well,
2.
wow.
We're not that rigid here. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're not that rigid.
We like having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, best shot products.
Mhm.
I did post. I can post
Becca
the
posted on there.
link
And
again.
Dave has classes at thewholepetnh.com,
Mhm.
which this show is the Whole Pet Academy show. And if you're not familiar with us, then we definitely have a lot of classes. A lot of
We have
classes.
a lot of classes.
Someday
I
I'm
have a
gonna
new one starting March 13th too. So if you
Yeah.
were interested in the behavior classes, I've got a new one starting March 13th. That's going to be Monday nights at 6 for 8 weeks.
Oh,
So, throw that out
behave.
there. And okay. And the Teton, Idaho show, we're all going to have a whole lot of fun there. But you
Yep.
can listen to Dave
Wait.
live at Teton.
Okay, I'm being silly. Okay, and I'm going to get in trouble for this. We better have a good time there, because we're all from the east and we're going to the middle of nowhere. For us, for the people who live there, it's beautiful because it's all in the Teton. I read on what the hell is Teton. I wanted to know what it was, and it's the mountain ranges over there.
Mountains.
Yep.
Yeah.
They are beautiful.
Mhm.
It looks like it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And
Okay,
it looks like good weather.
that's good.
Oh,
That's
there we
good.
go.
What did I say? Did we talk about this today, Chrissy? Like 67?
Yeah,
Nice.
something like that. Oh, Ashley's not excited about the
Ashley's
flight.
not excited about the flight. It's a little too far to drive, Ashley.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Well,
what, you don't want to do it. I drove to Super Zoo last year because I had some eye surgery. They put an a bubble in my eye, so I couldn't go on a plane. And I drove the 1,964 miles from my house to Vegas, and never again. It took me 3 days to get out there, and I got there a day early because I was counting on 4. I don't know what I was thinking. It only took me 2 days to get back, though. Go figure.
it was all downhill.
Going
Going against the rotation of the earth in one direction, and then
the elevation is a little different on that side of the country. You're going
Yeah,
back
it's
into the
very
Ohio
different.
Valley.
Yep. So driving to Idaho
down
would
the
be
Rocky Mountains, out through the plains, up the Appalachian.
that's right. You can drive to Idaho; it can be done, but man, you're going to need a lot of good CDs,
Yeah.
or excuse me, a good
Well,
soundtrack.
Ashley, you are in South Carolina, and Miss Angela Crumpy is making the drive.
Oh
So
my
you could
goodness.
tag along.
Maybe, yeah.
She is
Bring
driving.
some good jams. You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, because she's gonna be vending, so that's pretty cool. And she's got a creative class. We've got a lot of really fun classes.
We do have a lot of fun classes starting up. Yep.
It'll be good.
The Teton show is going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
It is kind of out in the part of the country I've never been to. So, yep, never been that far out. We'll see what happens.
Going to be there. I'm going to be there 4 nights of this.
Yes.
Good
Yes.
Oh,
They got to
So-
book this too.
Yeah, Chrissy's in charge. So
Yeah, I'm in charge of Teton now.
and I'm going to be talking. I'm going to be able to talk for 4 days straight while I'm out there. That's the scary part. And then I'm going to come home and I'm going to be tired.
I'm tired just thinking about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're going to be in an airport for 17 hours probably, or 16 hours.
Yeah, it was a long flight. I'm not going to be able to make it.
You're not going to make Teton?
I can't. We are in the process of rehoming the academy. And come May, we are going to be elbows deep in reconstruction of our new location.
Oh, bummer.
But we've got to be fully moved by the 1st of July. It was either me or Lori. And I know the build outs of businesses because I've done 4 of them. So,
yeah. Well, Chrissy, that means that just everybody's going to have that much more fun. And then, if there's a problem, I mean, she can ask questions.
She can one they go to if there's a problem. So
yeah, she can ask.
She's gonna come to me,
Oh, somebody really wants to ask Dave a question. Ask away.
Is it the question will silicone make a buildup on the coat? Is that your question? There's a question there.
Yes.
Depends on the silicone. The old school silicones would build up on the coat. The new ones do not build up on the coat. It takes a lot for them to build up on the coat, and they rinse out very well with bathing, the new ones. So the new science is much different. Everybody remembers 30, 40 years ago, the silicones, and they're a lot different today. So the answer to that question is no. In most cases, they don't build up on the coat.
So I have a question for you to follow up with that one.
Yeah.
If you do start thinking that they are building up, what do you use for buildup of silicone?
Just wash it out, regular or good clarifying shampoo, any brand. Ultramax happens to make a good clarifying shampoo, but there's any good clarifying shampoo, if that's what you're going for. And see, the interesting thing too is today with all of the 2-in-1 shampoos and all the different things, if it's not a silicone, they're using some conditioner in a lot of the shampoos for them to rinse out. So they're not as irritating, whatever, to give a nice finish effect. But that's going to build up, but not like the old school stuff. Back in the day when we were using oils, essential oils, coconut oils, shea butters, some of these things, those are all fine products, but those will build up, and the new stuff is formatted, engineered to avoid those things. And there's some really good ones out. And just unfortunately, sometimes we have to look and if you don't have ingredients listed on there, you have no idea what's it and if it's going to build up or not. So then it's guesswork and alchemy. It's just, I saw something recent. Somebody posted something online and it said, has anybody had Best Shot's Ultramax conditioner? Has it ever made a dog break out? Now, I thought that was interesting. Now I responded to her and I said, odds are, conditioners are the least likely typically to cause any type of reaction. Not saying that it couldn't, or there couldn't have been some isolated allergic reaction, but like with our conditioners, unless you're buying our spa stuff where we're putting in some fun oils and other goodies in there, our performance stuff, we're just interested in conditioning. So there's not a bunch of crazy claims ingredients. And conditioners, actually, much of what's in today's modern conditioners, did you know, soothes spasming skin. And some of the silicone, hair care silicones, are actually used in medicines, with active ingredients. Together, they soothe the skin. So usually we forget, if you washed it with a shampoo, there's a detergent in that. How long did it sit on the dog? Was it a clip down? Does the dog have a history of issues? Conditioners, not so much. Now, what I can tell you is you don't want to get conditioner in a dog's eye because that's going to burn. And there's no such thing as a tearless conditioner. So those are my fun little things. But no buildup.
No buildup. And if you see buildup, clarifying shampoo.
Yeah, if you see buildup, you're using the wrong silicone. Find another product that won't do that.
There we go. I think that was Diane.
Oh,
That's a good question.
That was, she wanted to come on and ask that. Ashley, call me tomorrow. I'll talk to you about tickets. Sorry.
Ashley's asking about flight to Teton.
Yeah.
Ashley is teaching also. Ashley's going to be at the Teton Grooming Expo. Yeah. Woohoo! Oh, and it is. Hi.
Yeah. I thought that's what I was watching for her to come on. I figured she was going to be on. So.
Okay. Hi, Ashley.
All right. I think
we're good.
We're good.
So we're going to
move on.
Next time you come on, we're going to talk more in depth about your 3 classes. Okay.
Doing 3. Okay, that's good.
Well, you've got 3
do 3.
School, but 2
you have 3 at the school.
Okay.
I'll
do more at Teton though, if you need it.
Okay.
Well, there's the vendor room.
There you go.
Yeah. Stay on. We'll tell you about that.
We could have fun. I could do the one on busting shampoo narrative myths, all the lies that were told. That's a good one.
All right, let's put it together.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
All
It was a lot of fun having you on.
I enjoy talking with you guys.
We like it too.
Yeah.
And the new modem, I didn't have any latency or breakdowns, so my new modem's working.
No, your new modem's good. That was a good upgrade. Yep. And Tiffany, if you want any of those classes, just reach out to me at any time. We'll get you in Dave's classes.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right. Chrissy, it's all you for our takeaway.
All right, everybody. That was a lot of fun, and we will see you next time. I'm looking for our end credits.
Oh, I got it right here.
You got it? All right. See you next week. And again, Whole Pet Grooming Academy, wholepetnh.com, the Teton Grooming Expo.com, and Best Shot.
Yep.
Good night.
Good night.
And Ash